Hello, hello. Going live here. Had a little issues earlier with the other live that I tried to be in. I don't know if Google or YouTube's having trouble with this, but it's okay. So I just restarted this live stream right now. And the topic today is what to do if you get your ex back, or what do you do if you get your ex back? And I don't want people asking this question if you are in no contact. If your particular situation was toxic, you're feeling really uncomfortable with even talking to your ex, this is not something to really think about over and over again, even though we do. It's more or less if it happens organically, or if it happens in a good way and you get back with your ex. And I've had a couple live coaching sessions over the last month where people have actually gotten back with their ex and have been thankful towards me and, quite thankful. And one of the things I told this individual recently, I was like, look, I'm very happy for you that you got back with your ex, but this wasn't the sole purpose of the breakup, right? So the topic should be, if you get back with your ex on good terms, where do you still have issues? So obviously, if you broke up, you had some issues. Where are those issues? Identify them. Can you forgive some of the issues? Can you let some of the things go? Some of the things that went on in the breakup or reasons for the breakup, you're probably not going to be able to go, oh yeah, all that shit is erased, right? Are the problems fixable or renegotiable? This is a really good question to ask yourself, because some problems aren't fixable. Issues such as having problems with someone's family or friends. I hate her sister. I hate her best friend. And if this is an issue with the family, then it's probably not going away. Someone's not going to just get rid of their mom because you don't like them or they're hard to deal with. So these are kinds of things you're going to either have to forgive or renegotiate. Like, look, we can meet your mom on the holidays, but I really don't want to meet every Friday night for dinner. It's really hard on me. Is that fair or not fair? I'm not sure. I'm just saying that when you get back together, you got to really understand, not right away, by the way, not right away. When you get back together, you do not want to start negotiating terms of fixing problems. So let me rewind. In the beginning, you want to get back together and see if you guys are still attracted to each other. You still have a connection, because trust isn't going to be there for a little bit because you broke up. The rope broke. If you had a rope in between you and you were pulling back and forth, the rope broke, and you're going to have to repair that rope. But the connection and the attraction, when you're in each other's presence, that's what you want to ride on. That's what you want to feel. And then you're like, all right, we got the base for this. Lisa Wade, thanks, Dylan. First on deck. Thanks, Dylan. All right there, mate. Another shrimp on the barbie. The Tasmanian Devil, Mr. Dylan Bryan. Lisa, thank you so much. I haven't set this up to donate. I have. It says to insert an ad here. I haven't. But Lisa, thank you for reminding me of that, and I'll put that on the live stream eventually. I've been working on myself, and my birthday just passed June 16th. Well, happy birthday. Dun, 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 dun. What are you, 22, 23? I think you said you were 21 before. 22, that's a good age. And you're in LA? Living in Southern California? It's a great place to live, Lisa. Great place to live. Nike One knows that. He's out in Diego. I love my time in Diego. Daniel Calamayer. Montero. How's it going, brother? It's going well, actually. I'm starting a little bit earlier. Coach Mac, what's up, brother? Missed the past few live streams. Sending much love. Work's been crazy. Work comes first, sir. Happy that you're busy, bro, because sometimes being busy is a good thing, right? Just ran into some guy at the beach today. I was on a walk. He's like, oh, I'm so busy. This guy's he's kind of a famous DJ, and he's got a bunch of projects and stuff, and it's all this stuff, but he's like, I got time for my swim. Another day in paradise. Crazy. I want nothing to do with my ex. Been dating, and no, I'm old. Just turned 25. That is not fucking old. 25 is a fucking fantastic age. Okay. I'm 38 right now, and 25 was a glowing year for myself. 25 is a great age. You got a little life experience. Come on. Glad you actually remember my last name. Such great. I have a good memory. Yeah, I have a very good memory. Someone just hit me up we did a live coaching 9 months ago, and I knew the guy's like, I don't know if you remember me. He kind of has a different name, kind of an odd name that wouldn't be common, like Daniel being common. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember you work here. This happened in your relationship. That happened. I just knew it in 5 minutes. And part of it is, I've told people before, when you actually really listen to someone in a conversation and give them feedback on what's going on, you remember shit. Well, thanks, Lisa. I appreciate that kindly. Yep, I'm 38, huh? 38. Never been better. Would like a little bit of my hair back, but you do look in your 20s, Mac. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you kindly. You know, when you do something like this too, to be candid with everyone, when you do something like YouTube, before you go into it, whatever you feel really secure about and things like that. I've never been someone that looks in the mirror quite a bit. That's why you could tell my hair's got flyaways, or some of my videos, you could tell I didn't really give a shit. But you think about that stuff, you're like, oh shit, how did I look on camera? And then you just start to roll it out. Fuck it. I'm not about to play with you today, Mac. And that's what these live streams have been recently, they've been a good fun, right? Good banter, good back and forth. I start off with a topic and then we go all over the place. So Lisa, you haven't been on deck for a while, hun. So if you want to share, you said you're working on yourself. Is there a book you're reading or a workout routine that you're doing that you want to share with everyone? Because obviously you said you're already through your ex. You don't even think about them. So that's good. And you're in SoCal, you just turned 25 years old. Shit should be looking really nice for you. Okay. There's a lot of people that'd be like, love to live in LA and be 25 years old. Just those two things alone. All right, let me get through these really quick. So for anyone out there, because this was the topic for people that come to this live stream that aren't chatting back and forth with me, and we'll get back to the chat. And if you guys have any questions, any comments, just put them down below. I'm going to get through these really quick, get some anecdotal information, give a couple stories from it. So what do you do if you get your ex back? Like I've mentioned before, recently I've had a couple people that have actually gotten back with their exes, and they've been excited about it. It seems like they were good relationships in the past, so it seems like they'd be in a good place. That being said, one interesting case, someone broke no contact after 3 weeks. Yes, they broke no contact, and they contacted me and asked me my opinion on it. In that case, based on the story they told me, I said, you know what? I'm not saying that it's going to work or you're going to get back with your ex, but at this point, it wouldn't be the worst thing. You guys, what went on at the end of the breakup, and she contacted her ex and they ended up getting back together. Now, does that always work out? No, but in her particular case, I thought it was a 50-50 chance, and I thought it was worth her time. And I warned her about the consequences, and it ended up working out. So sometimes people come to the channel, they always think no contact, no contact. And this is why I tell you to send in your story, your individual story. And maybe it will be a case where you can contact them in 3 weeks or a month or 2 months. Where do you still have issues? Identify those issues. If you're getting back with your ex, don't bring them up right away, but just be aware. Are these still are the problem? Long distance relationships. Oh, why aren't we get back? And I'll tell people instantly, are you planning to move to their city or they're planning to move to your city? Okay. So the distance is an issue, but you want to get back together, but you can't fix the distance problem. Well, then the problem's going to come up again and again. Can you forgive them? Did they do something wrong? And can you truly forgive them? Now, someone, oh yeah, I can. Are you going to bring it up and throw it in their face again? Are you really done with it? Is it bubbling up over and over again? I know I've had past relationships where something happened, and every chance or every time I get pissed off, I have to just throw that dart. I don't do that anymore. But some people do. And if you have that running and you can't let go of something, someone hooked up with someone flirted with one of your friends, and you just can't let it go, you probably aren't going to be able to stay together much longer. Are the problems fixable or renegotiable? So obviously negotiations broke when you broke up. Obviously there were some problems that weren't fixable because people were dug in on what was right and what wasn't right. So when you reapproach things, are you going into it with a solution-based mode? Again, when I mention this, when you get back together, you don't go through all this shit the first time you sit down and have coffee or have lunch or have dinner or meet up. You don't get into all this nitty gritty. The first time you meet up, if you do meet up, they call you, you call them, you sit down. All you're gauging is energy and presence. Sounds woo woo. It isn't. You sit down with someone, you get a feeling. If I meet an old friend from high school, I come back to the Bay Area and I'm in town. There's no like awkwardness or weird. It's like, what's up, bro? Da 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 da. Like smiling, laughing. We'll get into conversation for an hour, 2 hours. There's no awkward feeling. Our energy's there. We care about each other like buddies. When you're around an ex, if you're sit down with them, you can instantly feel this tension or awkward energy, or you can just feel like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. And you just melt. That's what you're doing when you meet. There's no guarantee. And I'll tell you, the spin on that is when you meet that ex and it is bad energy, then you come back down to ground zero, but you got your clarity. So you're always getting something in return. It's not all negative. Can you deal with that? How do you feel in their presence? That's what I just discussed. Are you overcompensating in any area? So do you feel insecure about something? We all have insecurities. I've talked about this in videos before. I do too. Everyone does, but do they rule your fucking life? That's the question. And when you're in a breakup, they get elevated. If you're heavier set, you start to think like, I got to really go on a diet. If you, your ex said something about your looks one time that, then you're going to be overcompensating for that. So if you're going into the meetup or you're going into meeting them, you're really getting dolled up, you're really worried, you might want to check yourself at the door, because a relationship, you're supposed to be comfortable with each other. And in the beginning, it can be a little bit uncomfortable, but as the relationship elevates and you're back together into this new relationship, post-breakup, get back together, you shouldn't be overcompensating and walking on eggshells. And I had someone on the live stream before that visits quite a bit, this gentleman Mayo, I believe. And he said, I was walking on eggshells. You're overcompensating for something you don't want to renegotiate or fix. And you're doing something that makes you uncomfortable, or you still are holding an insecurity. Be aware of that, because that's going to affect the relationship. Do you get anxiety when you see them? Maybe the first meeting, okay, but the third, fourth, fifth meeting, you should be getting into a position where you're comfortable and you're happy to see them. If you have anxiety before you're seeing someone, that means there's something unresolved there. There's some uncomfortableness that you're not divulging. Is this the first time you got back together? This is a really good question to ask. If this is a pattern where you guys have gotten broken up, gotten back together, broken up, or you were friends with benefits, or you were in a gray area and she keeps breaking it off with you, at what point is this just a fucking pattern and a playbook someone's running on the relationship and you don't even know it? Okay. So everyone runs patterns that they're comfortable with. And if they know like, oh, I can break up with them and then I can get back with them if this doesn't work out or I'm not happy, they got a safety net anytime they want to go back. So if this is like fourth or fifth or third breakup, you got to really take some inventory and go, wait a minute, do I want to do this again? Have you taken responsibility for your role? This doesn't mean to give yourself shame and guilt and make yourself the bad guy, make yourself the person that ruined the relationship. It just means taking honest responsibility. Like, wait a minute, I was out of line for that. Wait a minute, I wasn't being reasonable on that. Wait a minute. This is something about my personality I don't like and I want to work on as an individual. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And, I use jealousy because it's so common. Some people really think that they're just, oh, I'm just a jealous person. No, that's a character or personality trait that you can either make true or you can work on, identify the root, pull it out and go, all right, I don't need to be so jealous all the time. So got through all those. Let's talk to some people here. Mr. Peter Roberts. I know that name from somewhere. I think I've read your story. Thanks for reviewing my email a while back. Appreciate you. Been doing great self-development, but ex calls every once in a while for no reason. Shouldn't have slept with her, but still moving on. Well, if you slept with her and in that moment it worked out, meaning that, you guys both got what you wanted, I guess. But the idea of regretting that, it's done. It's a moment. It's not going to really be that big of a deal moving forward. If you don't want to talk to your ex, block her number, kindly tell her, short and sweet way, you know what, I'm done, if that's the case for you. I don't remember your exact story, Peter, but you have power in this situation. When someone's calling you and you don't need to be an asshole, you can literally block their number. And don't regret the fact that you guys slept together. You did it. It was a moment. You obviously were attracted in the moment as human beings. That's cool, man. I want to play with you today, Mac. Okay. People tell me I look much younger than I'm already am. E.g., aren't you like 21 or 22? I actually, when I was like 21, 22, a lot of people used to think I was 15 or 14. I think I talked about this in the last live stream for some reason. People tell me I look much younger than I already am. That's great. Problems fixable or renegotiable. I don't know if we can fix our relationship. Like I said in my story, she moved on, but to be honest, I was hoping she was missing me. I started to miss her. Well, it's certainly possible that she's missing you, but you don't want to be thinking about that or guessing or hoping. Is there a place you take donations, Mac? I told you I would donate and I keep my word. I do have a donations page on my website. So if you go to writemac.com, there is a donations page on my website. I will be honest with you, Lisa, the lowest amount to donate at this current time on the donations page is $25 because that's usually when I read your story. When I've read your story for YouTube, which I believe I have for you, Lisa, that's the lowest amount. So if that's more than you wanted to give, that's the lowest amount I have right now currently. So. But I do appreciate an individual that keeps their word, Lisa. I do appreciate that. And there has been people in the past where I've done their story and they've said, oh my God, I'm going to donate. Oh, I'm going to do a live coaching. I never hear from them again. And it's okay because I'm leading with good intentions. I'm helping an individual out. And if they don't have the money at the time or they don't have the resources at the time, I'm not going to investigate it. I'm not going to check your social media and go, wait a minute, right? So when you lead with good intentions, you lead with honesty and you lead the rest of the other person on the other end, you go, all right, it's up to them if they want to do that. Well, I've been just writing poetry. I can't stress this enough. Don't stalk your ex on social media. Well, thanks, Lisa. At 25 years old, it's difficult because as I said, I'm 38 and I've talked about this before and someone's like, oh, you're not that old or so. I don't feel old, but I'm saying that I didn't grow up in my teen years with a phone in my hand. So I think that it's just second nature to constantly check your phone, right? And check what your ex is up to or your friends are up to. So it's a reflex now. It's not even a habit. It's a fucking reflex. And me being a teacher, I'm teaching at a university, students, right when they finish class, they're immediately on their social media. It's like people that want a cigarette or something. So like I said, I didn't get social media washed at a young age where I'm on it all the time. YouTube's actually a part of social media because people make comments and share things. But when you get done with your ex, people have a lot of trouble with this. And they're constantly telling me different ways of like, well, I can still look at them and it doesn't bother me or this or that. It's usually really difficult because like I said before, you're putting together stories to pictures you don't know the story to. And then that's just a mess. That means don't look at their social media at all. Help me getting over them. Exactly. And you have power in that. You can block them. You can take a break from social media. There's all kinds of stuff. Thanks for sharing that, Lisa. I've known of a couple of people that have gotten their ex back. Their situations have been in no contact in 7-8 months, and they reach out. Why do they always seem to come back when you move on? Well, there's a great piece in the movie Swingers with Vince Vaughn, who's one of my favorite actors. He's fucking cool, dude. And they talk about that. And I don't know what it is. Some people say I do believe that there's energy within human beings. And the logistics of that and the details of that, I don't know. But I do believe we feel energy, just like you walk up to a dog and the hair stands up or you get nervous. And something about when someone knows that your energy is gone, they say that's when you get the call. Yeah, but there are times when you do move on and the person doesn't call. So it's not always fucking true. Okay. I know in my own life, I had an ex. I've moved on. They've contacted me a couple of times over the years, but it wasn't to like get back together. And I'm okay with that. But the idea that, like no contact in 7-8 months and they reach out, I mean, is it 7-8 months? But that's not a rule of thumb. Does it happen? Yeah. But the best situation to be in is that you were in no contact, doing your thing, moving on with your life, and they realize, wow, we had a really good thing. I missed that individual. I want to revisit it. They haven't been weak or needy. What have they been up to? The mysterious part races up. Influence. I don't know if it's called The Influence, EG. I think it's just called Influence, but by Robert Cialdini. Yeah, I know that book. Interesting stuff. It's there's two versions of it, two, not three, two versions of that book. But yeah, that could be definitely applied to relationships. Influence, right? Persuasion, manipulation. They all tie into the same stuff. Peter Robert, facts. I didn't feel connected to my ex when we reconnected. It was weird. He was very distant and made me feel worse. Well, there you go. And that's what I mean. Like, I call it energy. You can call it what you want, but you're in someone's presence. Like I said, I visited an old friend, or I have an old student, or I talked to someone that's been in a live coaching session with myself, and we spent 2 hours talking about a breakup, and they call me 8 months later. We get on the live thing, and it's like old friends. There's no awkwardness, okay? If that's the feeling and it's been a while, if you could break that in 10 minutes, fine. But if that's the feeling for an hour, 2 hours, then maybe you're not compatible to move forward. There's something there there's a block up. Is it only my McDonald's Wi-Fi that sucks, or is it the stream? I don't know. Ask everyone else. So I'm not sure, because the earlier stream, usually it tells me when there's a problem. Like, it'll say that it's on delay, but I haven't seen that yet. So it might be McDonald's. You're eating at McDonald's? Well, I got a lot of notes here. Cool. To be honest, you're best moving on. I know how it hurts to feel move on, but once a breakup happens, I feel like it damages the relationship and you lose trust in the person because they gave up. So you're putting it on them for giving up? Every situation is different, but yeah, the one thing that's absolutely lost in a breakup is trust, because someone gave up, someone stopped negotiating, someone gave an ultimatum. So it's not always a give up. Sometimes there's an ultimatum, like, do this or I'm breaking up with you, or accusations that someone can't overcome. There's all kinds of different things, but you're definitely right, Lisa, that the trust is usually the issue. And what I'm saying is, if someone gets back together, the trust is going to have to be rebuilt. It's like starting a new relationship, but you should have a point where you feel like you still have attraction and some kind of connection when you guys meet up, because that will help push the trust, right? If you don't have attraction anymore and your connection's bad, then what do you have, right? Is it okay to go back if it's the second time? Well, yeah, sure. It's your prerogative. You can do what you want. I'm just telling people, if it's the second time, is it the same problems? Is it the same issues over and over again? A lot of times it is, right? If it's the third, fourth time, is it someone overreacting? Okay, no problem. I'll donate after this live stream. I was going to give 40. All right. The options are, just to be clear, 25, 50, and 100. Okay. So those are the options. Lisa, I appreciate it very, very much. You are a kind soul. 38 is young. Well, thanks, Judy Jack. I haven't seen you around in a while, and I would say so. I think 38 is a good age. I'll tell you this, though. When you start to notice some different things in your late 30s where you're like, oh, shit, I like to play basketball, a little bit more sore the next day. Cut back on having drinks, because late 30s, you get a hangover, man. They linger. That's one thing, Lisa. Some of the other things, you mid-20s, I was Showtime the next day. I'm 24 and I probably look younger. Well, good for you, Dylan. 24 is young as it is, but good for you. There's some people that look old at 24, 25. Right? As anyone watches basketball, LeBron James, who's a legend, outstanding basketball player, I mean, that dude at 20 looked like he was 35. And the funny thing is, when I was a kid, I was 16. There used to be people that would drive up next to the car and they go, "Did you steal your mom's car?" I was really small and skinny, and I'd always be like, right. Thanks, Judy. Jack Wi-Fi is fine. It's telling me it's okay. Thanks for the like, folks. Sad part is there's nothing my ex can do for me to want to be back with him. I'm happy it ended. And to everyone in here missing, I promise you will get over it and you will feel better. Well, thanks, Lisa. That's kind of you. Keep moving forward. Keep, like I said, the simple statement I've told other people, keep showing up, right? Keep showing up in your own life. Your life is so much bigger than a relationship, right? I mean, your relationship's a big part of your life, and the longer you're with an individual, especially if you're married with kids, that's a different animal, right? But when you get defined by the breakup, you need to backpedal a moment and go, what else do I got going on? I was just talking to someone, and this comes up a lot. You have the breakup and you'll layer in like, oh, my job sucks. Oh, my, this sucks. Or I don't talk to my sister anymore. And some people do the parents thing. And I've had a couple of different people, like I said, in the live coaching, we go into other areas besides just your breakup, because there's some deeper issues going on that are affecting your relationship. And one thing about parents, I'll tell people, is if you got good parents that care about you, and not everyone does, right? I think what I would tell you is your parents probably are doing the best they can with the information and life experience they had in the past. And your in-laws are the same way. And it's really hard to understand that. But there was this guy, I'm going to go off a little bit because this is a really interesting story. And I can't think of the guy's last name. Larry something. It's going to bug me. It's African-American guy that he's on YouTube quite a bit. He's a cool dude. I think he's an ex-lawyer, speaks out quite a bit. But anyways, what he was saying was that he had this, G-Money, Larry Elder. He's a smart dude. I'm pretty sure that's who it is. He's a radio guy. Where I'm going with this, I'm not going into his politics or any of that stuff, okay? Where I'm going with this, I thought this was a really fucking interesting story. He said he had this horrible relationship with his dad when he was young. And he said his dad had a restaurant. Story gives me chills a little bit. His dad had this restaurant. And he said after World War I or World War II, I'm not sure which one it was, his father moved out to LA from the East Coast because he was a black guy that couldn't get work on the East Coast in kitchens and restaurants, came out to LA, couldn't get a job, started cleaning toilets and doing things like that, worked his way up, bought a restaurant, ran a restaurant. And when Larry was in his teens, I'm pretty sure it's Larry Elder, I want to make sure. Larry was in his teens. He worked there all the time. And he said his dad was an asshole. He said his dad was always yelling at him, always telling him he was, this or that. He'd yell at him in front of customers. He was never happy. He was always yelling on Christmas again and again and again. So anyways, this guy, Larry, said at 18 or 19 years old, I said, screw this. I'm not sure, G-Money. I think he said he joined the military and then went to law school, but he did really well for himself. So he left home. He went to college. I believe he was in the military. And he said he didn't talk to his dad for a long, long time. I think 18 or 20 years, if I get that right. Sorry when I see that on the side. Anyways, he calls his dad up 18, 20 years later. He goes and visits his dad. He's still angry. He has a cup of coffee with his dad. And he goes, Dad, why were you so mean? Why were you so angry all the time when I was young? And his dad goes, do you know what I had to do to get to where I'm at? The dad starts to explain that he had, I think, 2 or 3 jobs before he owned that restaurant. And he was literally on 3 to 4 hours of sleep for 5 years, something in that vicinity. So you hear that fucking story. And he said it just like floored him as an adult. Like, I had no idea. The reason my dad had no patience and he was angry all the time was actually he was working 3 jobs trying to save up money to buy this restaurant. And he had 2 or 3 kids. think it was 2 or 3 kids to take care of. And it wasn't by choice. It wasn't his personality. He was on 3 or 4 hours of sleep. He was angry. He was impatient. And he said, I looked at my father in a whole different way. And my point is, your parents and even friends and people you deal with, you don't know where the fuck they're coming from. You really fucking don't. They can even tell you that story and you still don't get it. It's like, I'll give you another example. This is a little deeper because it's me. My father was a truck driver. So it's nothing like, oh my God, that's such a cool job, right? My dad was a truck driver, like big trucks and stuff like that. And my uncles, my great grandfather, my grandfather, they all did the same thing for a union. And so they delivered food and all that stuff. Not a glorious job in any way, but my dad worked a lot of overtime. And at the time, not anymore, probably made pretty good money for his time. Able to, buy a middle class house, and we can go on vacations and shit. But my dad was really impatient when I was young, could get angry easily. You couldn't fucking step in front of the TV. He had a chair that you couldn't sit in when he was home. I don't know if anyone can relate to that. It's like, that's my fucking chair. When he was reading the newspaper, just stay away from him. And looking back and like a story like Larry Elder, it's like, I got a job years later. I never had a job where I had to deal with traffic a lot. I had a job where I had like 45 minutes of traffic there and 45 minutes back, a lot of street lights. And if some people deal with more traffic than I do, I mean, Lisa, you're in LA, so it's probably much worse. But I fucking hate traffic. Who likes traffic? Who likes dealing? My dad was a fucking truck driver working 8 to 10 hours a day, sometimes on the weekends, in traffic all the time doing long hauls. And I'm sitting there for 45 minutes going, fuck, this sucks. If I had to do that 8 hours a day, I'd come home in a bad fucking mood too. My dad's way more laid back now, right? What he did when I was a kid was not cool. I could go on with, we could trade stories of drunk dad or bad dad or this or that. I'm at peace with it. My point is you don't know where this shit's coming from when someone's impatient, angry, and you just think, what an asshole. You don't know that fucking life path to that level. And sometimes with your parents or your in-laws or other people, and you think like, oh yeah, they always say like, I used to think like, why is dad always like this? And then I'm like, fuck, I gotta sit in 45 minutes traffic. If I had to do this fucking 8 hours a day and I had a little kid at home, fuck. Right? Think about that. Think about that when you're dealing with someone you don't like, or you're like, why are they acting like this? There's a pattern to why they're acting like that. It's not like human beings like to roll around and be dickheads, right? Sorry to go on a tangent. I think this is an interesting story though. You really helped me a lot. Like I thought it was the end of the world when we broke up, but I'm so glad we did now. And I never thought I'd feel that way. And sometimes that's how it is, Lisa. You send your story in, you kind of get clear on some stuff, and take some inventory. And a lot of times when people talk to me, sometimes they need to just be reassured like that they're doing the right thing. It's not, when I talk to people, it's not like I'm telling you like, hey, do this, do that, and I want you to do this next. It's like, wait a minute, so why did you do that? What do you mean, Matt? Like, we'll explain. Let's unpack that. That's a common term I use. Hold on. Your job doesn't seem like you like. Let's unpack that a little bit and get into it. Well, yeah, I really do want a new job. Your job and your career really affects your relationship. Like if you're really unhappy with where you work, it's not about money. It's about the camaraderie at work, the purpose, the significance. Significance is huge as a human, especially as you get older. Are you important at work? I got a friend that was visiting, and he's taking some time off, and he worked at a car dealership, and he's a good salesman. You can just tell when you're around him. And he was only away for, I think he only came out for like a week. He lives in Hawaii. And he was like, psh. I'm like, well, you couldn't get off longer? He goes, I'm important at work. And I thought, wow, that's a good feeling actually, to be an important part of your job, to be needed, to be significant. That you don't usually associate that with being happy, but it's more about being proud of what you do, right? Yeah, that's Larry Elder. He's a very wise dude. Great story to share, Mac. Thanks, G Money. Well, that's probably one of you. It's not by accident that we appreciate similar people, right? My dad is on that chair right now. All right, Mayo. Yeah, I think Mayo, you told me before you've dealt with an alcoholic parent, but like I remember my sister would have friends over. My dad would come home from work and they'd be sitting it's like an old lazy boy chair. I don't know if you guys know what lazy boy chair is, but like recliner. And my dad would grab his paper and he'd go, okay, get up, move. And my sister's friends like, like kicking their feet, you know, like they're like 14, 15 years old. And my dad's like, what? Move. And we both look at her and go, yeah, get out of that's my dad's chair. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, I've never seen that before, that someone owns the chair at a certain time. It's like, no, that's my dad's chair when he's home. No one sits in it. Again, 8 to 10 hours of driving in a truck in traffic in San Francisco Bay Area all day. I guess you got a right to the chair if you're paying the bills. Different way to frame it than when I was a kid going, why is dad so mean? We tend to take things people do to us personally without factoring the situation the other person is in. G Money, I didn't even recognize that till I started doing this work. I think I thought I understood people better, but now I'm like hypersensitive to listening to like, oh shit, that's where that's coming from, right? Like someone's not just doing this because they decided to do something bad or wrong. They're doing it because this, and this happened to them. And it's important for you to realize that a lot of times. All your insecurities are rooted in something that happened to you early on in some story you're carrying. My uncle offered me a job in being a truck driver. I might accept it. I'm not really familiar with it. Some people say it would be good. I don't know. My family were all in a union, so that helped them quite a bit. But from what I understand, it's more work than it used to be. But I don't know. Go for it, I suppose. Do your research on it, bud. If it's something that excites you, you're young enough to try it. And if you don't like it, you move on. It's 7:30. I'm chilling with a cup of mix of juice and alcohol with some chips next alone in my room. Sweet. Chips in England would be considered French fries. Love that story about Larry. And you know what? Larry told it better than I did. Sometimes, you know, I'm rephrasing it. I just thought it was we all watch YouTube. I watch YouTube. Some people ask me like, where do you get I watch a lot of educational lectures and interviews like that. Like that guy's a cool dude. I thought his perspective was great. I knew a Marine who fought in Iraq. He was a grump when he came back. Later, I found out he was ordered to kill a woman and 2 children and couldn't forgive himself. Jesus, Sandra, that's deep. My dad was in Vietnam also. He's got PTSD. He was in there 68, 69 in a pretty bad time for the war. Sometimes is it an excuse? It's just a way to understand, or try to understand, because Sandra, you'll never understand what that guy went through, but you can try, right? Definitely makes a difference to know why he's acting like a grump, right? Environments count too, environments and pressure. Like my dad's such a different person now that he's retired. He's not rich or anything like that, but he's 70 years old and not a lot of stuff bothers him, but he's allowed to sit at home, relax. He likes to read, makes a difference. She reached out after 4 months of no contact to apologize for ghosting me. Michael Shackles, first time caller, long time listener, Michael. She reached out after 4 months of no contact to apologize for ghosting me. I accepted her apology, but didn't give much oxygen to conversation. She needs to do more. Why do you think she reached out? Well, you just told me that she reached out to apologize for ghosting you. I would, if I had to guess, again, Michael, this is not a public service announcement because I say this all the time, but I would need to know your breakup story to give you a tailored response. But if you accepted her apology, but you didn't give the conversation much oxygen and feel like she needs to do more, then you're carrying some angst or contempt still, which is going to affect you guys getting back together. If she reached out to you, she, in short answer, probably missed you or was thinking about you in the moment, and wanted to know what you were up to and wanted to apologize for ghosting you. Where you want to go with that is up to you. But if you still have, this thing that she needs to do more to get you back, I don't know the ins and outs of where that comes from, but I'm not sure that's going to be the path to a future relationship. I'd have to know more to give you further take. If you don't love yourself, no one will. Thanks, Lisa. I will check that, hon. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thanks for supporting the channel, Lisa. You know what's funny is I got this really good thank you. It's basically like a thank you note. And so someone that I've done a live coaching with 2 times, and I did a little bit of we talked a couple of times through email, and she's asked me some emergency questions for her. Just wrote me this great thank you note. And when I was a kid, one thing my mom made us do for all birthdays, Christmas, but all birthdays, if you had a birthday party when you were little or something, everyone had to be sent a handwritten thank you card for whatever it was. And I used to think, oh God. And then when I was in real estate, I used to do a Christmas card list for all my friends and some past clients. And I was just like, people would come up to me and be like, wow, my mom's a big card person. Like, she sends cards for birthdays, Christmas, religiously, all cousins, second cousins, uncles, friends. And when I used to do this for real estate, it's like people would be like, wow, thank you for the card. Like, you sent a card to my family saying that Merry Christmas. Because how many people still do that, right? Sometimes I think, like, would it be weird? Some of these people on these coaching sessions, I'm like, oh, maybe I can get your address to send you a Christmas card. But in 2019, the times have changed where people are like, you send something to my address? You know where I live? Isn't it? It's changed so much. It's kind of interesting, because sometimes I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to send someone a cool birthday card, because I don't get a lot of mail now, but when I go back to the States, all the mail's my mom's house is just junk. Anyways, got off track there. But thank you for that, Lisa. Thanks for the donation. But that's why you need a good woman to rub your back and have a home cooked meal for you when you get off work. Sounds good to me. Do you think that's an interesting thing? Because that seems like that would be like all men would go like, oh, that'd rub my back and have a good cooked meal. Yes, it's like some guys don't appreciate that kind of thing. Some guys don't like their back rubbed, right? Shit, I do. I like a woman that cooks. You need to understand someone's emotional setting in order to understand their actions toward us. But if they can't communicate their emotions toward you effectively until it's too late. Well, yeah, I mean, when you really get to know a friend, a family, even family members that are destined, but your partner, in order to understand how they act and their character, you do need to know something about their past. My rules, if you decide to get back together. Rule 1, I like this, Christian. Thanks, bud. Don't hold any grudges. Fair enough. If they hurt you, you have to be able to forgive each other and understand what went wrong and what can be done to prevent it from happening. And you have to be in a good place as an individual in order to forgive someone, because it is a little knock on your ego. And if you're overcompensating in that forgiveness where they really hurt you and it keeps flashing, you got to be honest with yourself and go, well, maybe I'm not going to be able to ever let this go for a couple of years, or every time I see their face, I think about what they did, or you know what I mean? The best way to say sorry is to say it one time, mean it, and then immediately go into showing someone that you're moving forward. If you continue with the sorry, it becomes a pity fest, a victim fest, and it even makes the other person uncomfortable. If the other person cannot forgive you, that's on them. And if you're repeating the same shit over and over again, they have a reason not to forgive you. David. Is that Spanish? David? That happened to me. Didn't communicate her emotion. That decided to break up when it was too late. When is it, the idea that it's too late to break up, I don't know where that comes from. I don't think there's a time limit on any of these things. But I would need to know more information about that, David. Man, I wish I had more than 200 characters. YouTube gives us comment live chat. I found out some interesting stuff with my psychologist that you would probably like. Well, Josh, you can send me an email if you want. I'm always open to, that's my personal email, my coach email, Coach Mac McCarthy at Gmail. That was available. If you want to share something like that you think, sometimes people do that. They go, oh, I want to share this with you. Narcissism is a big one. People really like to talk about narcissism. And I had a couple past clients that were really into their narcissist knowledge. And I told them in the live coaching, I'm like, well, I'm aware of it, but I'm not as in depth as you are. And they sent me all this information on narcissism and all these videos. But I have a really good video, a podcast that I thought was fucking excellent. I'm gonna actually use the premise. And basically, this guy's a trained psychologist. He's in Seattle. It's called Psychology in Seattle. It's a podcast. Cool. It's pretty cool. I like it. I like the approach they have. Psychology in Seattle. And he talks about narcissism and he interviews someone with questions. And I like the way it's approached with questions because I was sitting there going, oh, I know someone like that, or I know someone like this. But anything you got to share, Josh, that you think can enlighten me or help me out, I'm open. I'm not above that at all. I'm a learner. If you know that you'll have an issue knowing they slept with the other people during the breakup, then either don't ask or don't get back together. Yeah, that's a tough one. I haven't dealt with that on my own, where I've broke up with someone or got back and that I known them to sleep with someone. I know that I've had someone that was my girlfriend that prior to me had hooked up with a friend of mine, and that used to bug the shit out of me. And looking back, I had no right. But when you have a face and your friend, it just bugged me. And it was something that I was immature about and I would bring up sometimes. But yeah, that's something that doesn't make someone feel good. I've known people, this is a good topic, Christian, because I've known people that I've done live coachings with that have gotten back together and then broke up because they pestered their partner about who they've been with and what they've been doing. And they ended up getting answers they couldn't deal with. Christian, these are cool. Keep going. I understand him wanting his chair, driving all day. The only thing he wanted was a chair to relax. Let that man have his chair. You know what, Lisa? I understand now. When I was a kid, I was like, I just followed the orders, right? It's like my dad, you didn't fuck with him when he got home from work. You just got out of his way. But I didn't get it. And that's where my point is. I'm like, nah, you know what? I didn't see him all day. It wasn't like Dad was like, oh, come with me to work, buddy. It's like, no, he's driving a big rig truck all over town, swearing. And, the other way it would affect things is my dad would never want to go to the city to go out to eat. He'd never want to go to San Francisco because he didn't want to deal with the traffic. But yeah, you're right. Now I look at it like he earned that chair. You know what I mean? Now in retirement, he likes to sit in his chair still. But he worked, 25 or 30 years doing that job, and he supported the family. So, it wasn't all peaches and cream, but we do what we have to, I guess, sometimes, right? And a lot of times with your job and your career, a lot of people just take opportunities that come to them. They don't really search out what they want to do. And that's not wrong if you have a family or anything like that. But for a lot of these people that I talk to and you're in a situation like you, Lisa, you're single, you're 25, make sure you're doing some job that you like. Third and final rule, don't take everything so damn serious. Learn to laugh at each other and own you guys made mistakes, are growing together. Your ego will hit early when you guys are back. Yeah, Christian, that's true. If you guys can immediately kind of smile and kind of joke. I remember reuniting with a girlfriend that we were broken up and being each other's presence. And she was trying to be a hard ass in the beginning, trying to, we're just friends, da, 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 da. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's cool. And then all of a sudden you could just see her eyes like smile and kind of calm down and relax. And That's the energy I'm talking about. It's like, oh, I'm just happy to see you. The guard came down. In my experience, the best thing to do when an ex reaches out is just let the past go completely and start new again. Hanging on to stuff will ruin it before it begins again. Yeah, you need to be in a place where the smoke clears, as I like to say. Even if you do still have some problems and you do still have some issues, at least you took two weeks, a month, 4 months to kind of like, oh, you know what? Maybe I was overreacting to that. Oh, you know what? I actually could have took this route and it would have worked for both of us. You should be rethinking those things. Together, someone asked, how long were you guys together? I don't understand, Christian. I'm sorry. No, you were right, David. It's Italian. Desamore. Italiano. What a great culture, great food. I love Italian food. You in Italy? Italy's supposed to be a really cool place, man. I've met a lot of Italian people here visiting Phuket. Well, at least early in your new relationship, and the Italian people, hey, they always talk like this. I used to have a neighbor that was from Italy, really can talk forever, and so can I. Well, at least early in your new relationship, best answer you can give someone when they ask how long were you guys together, just tell them about the first time you guys met. No need to tell. Strangers, I'm not sure I follow. Sorry, Christian. G Money changed his name. Ironic. Thinking your ex is a narcissist is kind of narcissistic. Then the problem can't be with me. It has to be with them. True personality disorders like that are rare. That's an interesting statement, G Money, because this is so funny because when I do the narcissist thing for live stream, this will be an interesting one. I want to have someone on, and I've actually, folks, I've just bought some podcast equipment to actually have 2 mics, get it a little bit more professional. I just bought it yesterday. Some guy that used to run a radio show got it from. So I want to do that with a co-host, female co-host. I have a couple in mind, and I think it'll be really good dynamic in between. But you're right, G Money. That's a really interesting way to put it. And the people that have accused others of being narcissists, because they were like, this is the reason why we broke up. That person was a narcissist. And I was just like, like, that's such a broad statement. But you're right, G Money. In some ways, it's not taking responsibility. And you're right. And these 2 individuals that I was talking to, they definitely had narcissistic traits. That's fine. Send me flowers, though, Mac. Lisa, do women really like flowers being sent? Because this is kind of a funny thing. Most women will say, I don't like flowers. Don't send me flowers. I don't think I've ever sent a woman flowers in the mail or to their work. I've had flowers sent to me once for Valentine's Day that was awkward. It's like I had a dozen roses sent to me by a girl that I was seeing, and I was just like, thanks. Everyone was like, don't men usually send those to the women? I'm like, well, I guess not this time. But women usually say like, oh, I don't like, wouldn't you rather get flowers sent to work? Because then it's kind of like a little bit of a show. But I've never done that. I've actually, I've been places where you can buy women are going around selling roses and stuff like that at dances. And then I'll buy one and give that. Cause that's like a cheap thing to do, right? Because like one rose is $1 or $2. And you're like, oh yeah, I got you this rose. But I've never ordered flowers for an individual. Edible arrangement? Nah. I don't think that I would do that. I was just thinking more of a really cool card. Thoughtful card. Other point, by all means, never ever go through their social media or phone. No one wins. And if you see anything, you'll overreact. Absolutely, Christian. That's gospel. I recently burned a love letter from an ex gave me when we were in the relationship, and now I finally could fully move on and stop living in the past. Well, there's your answer, folks. If you got love letters you're hanging on to, maybe try burning them. Worked for EG. According to Psychology Today, love is becoming a thing of the past. It's being replaced with lust and infidelity, says one person. What I would say to that, Josh, thanks for that take. I would say, as I've said before, love is defined by the individual. So whatever love means to you, whatever love means to Josh, Sandra Chatwin, E.G., G Money, Dylan, it's all different. And then we have different grades of love. We love our moms. We love our cousins. We love our dogs. I don't know if some people would say there's different levels of that, right? The problem is when you love a partner, a girlfriend, in my case, it's like there's less guaranteed in there, right? When you love your family member, it's kind of like locked in. But then again, it isn't for everyone. So love is one of those things. It's defined by the individual and their life experiences. That's the simplest way I could put it. So when someone puts it in an article and just goes, oh yeah, this, and this, the reality is there's more lust and infidelity going on. Is there, or is it just more open? Has it been going on since the fucking beginning of time? Or is it just more open? Good question, right? I mean, you see these movies like Games of Thrones and all these old movies, all these kings. I was a history major. All these kings fucked around. They all had what do they call that? Like 7 wives, 10 wives. It's like, and all the other people follow the rules. Great book, Mating in Captivity. I can't think of her name right now. Esther or something. Great perspective. Esther Pearl or something. I can't think of her last name. Anyways, in that book, she said that there's these huge consequences for anyone that cheats in these, you shall die and all these things. It's like, well, since the beginning of time, people have still been doing it. Mac lays it so good that he gets a dozen roses sent to him. Props, my God. Let me roll back. It's not like that happens to me all the time, but that happened to me one time and it was a little bit awkward because I was like, shit, I didn't send you flowers, right? And I got them at the workplace. If my ex reaches out, we become friends again. I'd rather forget our past and start a new friendship with her and never know we might get back together. I don't accept we will though. Okay. That was run on point. What I meant was essentially keep other people out of your relationship. No need to tell family and friends all your relationship is essential. We are back together. Okay. Gotcha, Christian. Sweet. Thanks for your take on that. Thanks for numbering that out. That's useful. Is all other people need to know. So I would guess that this is something that's happened to you before, the way you're describing it. I gave my ex a white rose every time I went to see her. That was once a week. Wow. Well, if you're giving someone something once a week, it kind of loses its specialness. And it becomes an expectation. And then you stop giving her a rose and she's going to go, oh, you didn't give me a rose this week. Why a white rose? I don't know what that even means. I know every color means something, right? I am actually over today, folks. Any closing questions? I got a live coaching to talk to in 4 minutes ago. That's how much I like doing live streams. I just lose track of time. But this guy that I'm talking to, we talk at least once a month, so he knows me well. He'll be okay. Is Larry kind of like Joe Rogan? I don't know. Ask G Money. Larry had a radio show, Larry Elder. His point of view is different than Joe Rogan. Check him out. It's not someone I follow all the time. I came across him in an interview, and I was interested. And I watched the interview, and that story that stuck with me because it was a really good story. Good question, Daniel. But check him out. G Money, they try to hold that back. Dude, preach on that. If you shouldn't take a breakup advice from your family and friends, why the fuck would you take relationship advice from them at all? Like podcasts. I don't know if Larry has a podcast. Just Google him or Larry Elder, YouTube, I guess. Oh, I'm Hooper. Just change my Google name. Oh, fuck, Hooper. Really? You had to let that go after the 76ers? Thanks for fucking telling me, because I was wondering what happened to you. Because all of a sudden, there was one time where, I don't know what you said, and I said, get yourself on deck, like I started to get on you a little bit, and I'm like, oh shit, this dude disappeared out of there. Thanks for telling me, Hooper, Philly's finest. Yeah, no problem, Daniel. The Tazzy Devil is out till next live stream. See you, Mac. Have a good day. You too. Larry's an old school conservative black guy, like Mac said. Did radio and was a lawyer, the king of the South Central. I like his perspective because he's reasonable and he's logical. I don't know all his politics and political views if they, mold with everyone else's, but that story in itself was pretty good, right, G Money? I'm glad you know who that was and what it's about. Thanks again, Mac. Blessings and healings from the breakups, everyone. Okay, Hooper. Just missing my boy James. James is here. James is G Money. He changed his name too. I ain't leaving you, Danny boy. Hopefully I'm first on deck again on there. Yeah, I don't know. James Kavanaugh wasn't the real name. I don't know why, but people have changed their things. Who cares? This is what's fun about it. This is what makes it fun, guys. Well, thanks, everyone. This was nice. We didn't have too many people, but it was quaint. We had 10 people, and like people have told me before, this is good because we get to interact a little bit more. It's a nice little hour spot here. Thanks, folks. I appreciate it. Lisa, thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Everyone else, appreciate y'all. Late.